web technologies. Under web technologies, we are in second and third units. Why? Because second unit is completely it is DHTML. Second unit covers complete syllabus. It is having DHTML syllabus. What is the DHTML? DHTML is a combination of 5 to 6 technologies. 5 to 6 technologies. First one is style sheets, CSS or cascading style sheets. That part is over. Second part is JavaScript. JavaScript is one of the component. JavaScript is one of the component or a part of HTML that we discussing from yesterday. And another point is unit 3 totally covers JavaScript, so that we may try to cover all these second unit and third unit both. So we mainly concentrate on third unit JavaScript. And third technology is cascading style sheets is first one, second one is JavaScript, third one is DOM, document object model, that is second unit. Fourth one is events and event handling, events and event handlers and event handling, that is fourth technology, that covers in unit 4 also. And fifth one is placing text and graphics, that is fifth technology. So we are right now we are in second technology, that is JavaScript. And today we are going to discuss about the topics, the concepts of JavaScript only from the yesterday's PPT. So we start the PPT. With some elements of JavaScript. So as we already told you that JavaScript is a part of DHTML. DHTML contains 5 to 6 technologies. So it covers unit 2 and total unit 3. It covers unit 2 and total unit 3. So from yesterday onwards we start discussing about JavaScript. So today we start from this slide, that is elements of JavaScript. So JavaScript is a programming language or a scripting language. So today we start with some variables, arrays and functions. What are variables and what are arrays and what are functions in JavaScript? So primitive data types. So what are the primitive or primary data types? Primitive means primary. So what are the primitive data types or primary data types used in JavaScript? So JavaScript has 3 primitive or primary data types. First one is number, and the second one is string, third one is boolean. So there are 3 primary data types are there: number, string and boolean. So everything else is treated as an objects. Why? Because JavaScript is mainly, it is a scripting language used along with or work along with only HTML. So there are 2 types of what is the differences between Java and JavaScript? Java is mainly, it is a commercial application software. JavaScript is a scripting language. It is mainly used with this HTML used along with HTML only. So in HTML everything is treated as an object, and every object have, for example, has some object. So every object have some properties, and every object have some methods, and every object have some actions, like that. So similarly numbers are always stored as floating point values. So as this also we discussed earlier, numbers means generally all the numbers are treated as decimal numbers in JavaScript, and strings may be enclosed in single quotes and double quotes. Generally in JavaScript, not only in JavaScript and other languages also, if you write anything in between a single quote or a double quote, it is treated as a string. So generally in JavaScript also we may write strings in single quotes and double quotes, and booleans are either true or false. Another type of so as we discussed in this, there are 4 types of primitive data types or primary data types. First one is called as number, second one is called as numerous string, third one is called as boolean. So boolean, what is a boolean? Boolean values or boolean data type is a data type which is used to store either true or false value, means which is used to store or represent either true or false values or yes or no type of values. So generally boolean values are used to store either yes or no values, or either used to store either true or false values. So variables, what is a variable and what is a constant? What is a constant? So variables, as we already know that know the definition of variables. So variables are generally used to store some values during, and these values may be changed during program execution. So they are called as variables. So how So what is a variable? A variable is generally used to store the values of the memory locations temporarily during program running or during program execution. So how to define and declare variables in JavaScript? By using var statement. So by using var statement, we may use or we may define and declare variables in JavaScript. So how to write a JavaScript program? How to write a JavaScript program in HTML? So to write, to use and write HTML programs or HTML script in JavaScript script in HTML, we may use script tag. We may use script tag. Script tag is one of the tag used in HTML. So the syntax is script language is equals to JavaScript. Generally JavaScript can be, the script tag can be used anywhere. Generally the script tag can be used anywhere, means outside the body tag or inside the body tag, anywhere in the HTML program. So what is the declaration or comment section in HTML? We know that less than exclamatory dot slash slash. It is used to define variables or a definition of a variables. So where num char is equals to 25, where passenger is, this is a simple example. So says alert is a, now alert and MSG box. Alert and MSG box are two functions generally used to display something on the screen while in HTML and JavaScript. So where, so how to use or how to define and how to use variables, how to use and how to define and how to declare variables in JavaScript. JavaScript has untyped variables, means there are two types of variables, typed variables and untyped variables. Typed variables means before using any variable, in a program, you should define and declare. You must and should define and declare it before it is used. Whereas untyped variables means we may type any type of variables without defining it before. So for example, variables are declared with var keyword. Generally in JavaScript, all the variables are keyword defined with the word var. So the syntax is var some num is equals to 1, where num is equal, name is equals to within quotes some mail, like that. So variables are declared with a var statement. For example, var pi is equals to 3.14116 x comma y comma name is equals to, like that. Variable names must begin with a letter or underscore, and variable names are case sensitive. So as we know that all the JavaScript code or all the JavaScript statements are written in case sensitive. Case sensitive means when variables are untyped, means they can hold values of any type. The word var is optional. The word var is optional. but it's a good style to use it. And variables declared within a function are local to that function only, means another rule is variables declared. So there are, as we know that variables are basically two types of variables are used: local variables and global variables. Local variables and global variables. Local variables are defined and declared and accessed within a program or within a function or within a main program only, whereas global functions are accessible outside the anywhere. Global variables are used to access them from anywhere, anytime, or any within the function or outside the function. So variables declared within a function are local to that function. Variables declared within a function are local to that function, accessible only within that function, and variables declared outside a function are called as global function. Global variables declared outside a function are called as global, accessible from anywhere on the page. Next, operators. So another another important concept in JavaScript is operators. So what are operators? What are operands? What are constants? What are the different types of operators? So, like that. So as we already discussed in the previous class, operator is a symbol. What is an operator? Operator is a symbol, because most JavaScript syntax is much. So generally the operators are in the syntax of the JavaScript. The syntax of the JavaScript is almost same as like in C, Java. So operators are like that: arithmetic operators, plus, minus, star, slash, percentage, plus, plus, minus, minus. Comparison operators or relational operators. They are called as comparison operators, or relational operators are like less than, or equals to, greater than, equals to, double equals to, and not equals to. And logical operators. Logical operators are double ampersand, or not. These are called as double ampersand, double or not. So logical operators are and, or, not. And bitwise operators. Bitwise operators are generally ampersand, and vertical bar, and this caret symbol, tilde, double shift, left shift, right shift, like that. Assignment operators are like plus is equals to, minus is equals to, star is equals to, slash is equals to, percentage is equals to, and like that. These are called as assignment operators. So string operator or string concatenation operator is plus. And the conditional operators are condition, question mark. What are the conditional operators? What is the conditional operator? Condition, question mark, value if true, colon, value if false. And special equality tests means double equals to and not equals to. So these are the and in addition to this, additional operators are also there in JavaScript, like new, type of, and void. These are written in between slash slash, and in between slash star and star slash. Java's so statements. So what are the statements? Most JavaScript statements are also borrowed from C. So almost all the statements used in JavaScript are also like in C or C++ or Java. So what are the different types of statements? Assignment statements, compound statements, if statement, familiar loops or looping statements, like that. So assignments are assignment statement. Statement is generally equals to symbol. Assignment statements are what are assignment statements? Assignment statements are generally used with an equals to symbol. And compound statements. What are compound statements? Compound statements are written in between two braces. Each statement is ended with a semicolon. So compound statements are written in between two braces. And if statement, conditional statements. Another type of statements are called as conditional statements. What are conditional statements? Conditional statements are like if statement, if else statement, if else if statement, and like that. So if statement, how we, what is the syntax of if statement? If condition, if some condition, statement semicolon, if some condition, statement semicolon, else statement semicolon. Looping statements. What are loopings? Loops or looping statements? What are loops or looping statements? So while loop, do while loop, and for loop. There are three statements, three looping statements are used. There are three looping statements or loops. First one is while loop. What is while loop? What is the while loop? Means what is the syntax of while loop? While within bracket condition, while within bracket some condition, statement semicolon. Do while statement. What is the do while statement? Do statements, do within brackets some statements while some condition. For statement or for loop. So there are three types of statements. Loops or looping statements are there, as we know that in C, C++. While condition statements, it is a while loop. Do while statement, do while loop, do statement while some condition. For loop, what is a for loop? For some condition, for some condition, for initialization, condition, and increment statement. So there are three types of loops are available in So another statement in JavaScript is like in C and C++, switch statement. So what is a switch statement? Switch statement is a multiple if statement or a multi-valued if statement. Multiple if statement or a multi-valued if statement based on the given variable or based on the given expression. The statement is the value statement is executed. So syntax is the syntax is switch within brackets expression or some value or variable or constant, and bracket open, case, label, colon, statement semicolon, break, case, label, colon, statement semicolon, break, like that, default statement. So if the suppose if the value of the given expression is 1, then statement is executed, and if the value of the label is 2, then statement 2 is executed, otherwise default statement is executed. Other familiar statements. What are the other familiar statements used? Means break, continue. So break and continue are the other important statements which are used. Next, exception handling. Exception handling is another important concept in almost it is also same as in Java and C++. So exception handling in JavaScript is almost the same as in Java. So throw expression creates and throws an exception. The expression is the value of the exception. So the syntax is try block. It is called as try catch finally block. It is also called as try catch finally block. So try, bracket open, statements to try, and bracket close. Next, catch, some within brackets some expression, and bracket open, and no type declaration for exception. So some and finally, so this is the syntax. Generally it is not required for us. So arrays. Next we discuss about arrays in JavaScript. So how to define an array, what is an array, and how to create arrays in JavaScript, and how to use arrays in JavaScript, and what are the different types of arrays. So what are the different types of arrays used in JavaScript? So what is an array? What is the definition of array? So array is nothing but a collection of similar items. Array concept is also same as in C and C++. So array is nothing but it is a collection of similar items. Array is nothing but it is a array is nothing but it is a collection of similar items stored in continuous manner. So in JavaScript also the concept of arrays are same as in C and C++. So how to create an arrays in C++ in Java? So where some score is equals to new of array of 3. So score of 0 is equals to 35, score of 1. Here where is the declaration of the variable or an new operator used in JavaScript. The array is the array creation of array. Within with brackets 3 is the maximum size of the array is 3. And here in as we know that in while using arrays we may use two terminologies, index and index value and subscript values and index values. So what are subscript values and index values? So to access the array elements, we may use the concept called subscript or index values. So generally the subscript value or the index values are running from, generally the subscript values or the index values are running from 0 or starting with a 0 to n minus 1, where n is the maximum size of the array. Alternative. So this is another alternative or another syntax used with arrays. So alert, what is alert? Alert is the input output function. Generally alert is the some messaging function or input output function used to display some message on the screen or used to display something on the screen. So in the next class we will continue.